Okay, so like I said, this sits under the dynamic and changing relationship. This is a specific case study that we can use. This is probably one of the stronger ones or more detailed ones that we can use compared to the guy with his girlfriend on TikTok, or the people announcing their upcoming child named Methany. Do you remember those ones, right? So this one's just a bit more robust to use. So this is quite a good one to have. This is also one that we can use. You could possibly use a little bit later in terms of influence. We're going to get to examples of audiences influencing the media. This is one example of that. So this is a case study of impersonation on social media. As we just heard, impersonation, it's something that is very easy to do for people and very hard to fix by social media. So in this specific example, this is a guy called Sean Morrow, who impersonated a brand, Eli Lilly, on the social media platform of X. So here are the case details. In November 2022, cases of impersonation on Twitter. At that time, it was Twitter. So we're in kind of this awkward zone where, look, you can call it either and it'd be okay. So cases of impersonation on Twitter sharply increased, and chaos ensued after the social network, now X, changed its policy to give a verification check to any user paying for the premium Twitter Blue, or now called the X Premium service. I don't know if you remember this when it happened, but this was probably about 6 months after Musk took over, and he paid way too much for it and wanted to quickly make money. And so this was one way where everyone who paid $8 could get that little, that blue check symbol. The verification check, right? So it used to be that Twitter used to have a group of people who would verify that a publicly notable person, so whether that's a celebrity or a journalist or a brand or a politician, that there was a team at Twitter that got those individuals to verify that, right? Submit some documentation to prove their identity to limit people impersonating. Because Musk just wanted to make some money back, anyone that paid that money would get that verification check. I think in the if we're to give Musk the benefit of the doubt, I think that he thought that people would just be verifying for themselves, right? But that's not what happened. So they could purchase the verification check, change their name, handle and bio, and look like an official brand or celebrity. So I could apply and say, I'm Charlie Doring and here's my credentials, and it would just go to an AI bot, right? It wouldn't go to a human to verify, but I just say that this is me, and they go, yep, Charlie Doring's given the check, and then I could go in and change my handle, my name, my profile picture to say that I'm Donald Trump, Anthony Albanese, whoever, right? And because the check was already given, it just sat there permanently. Does that kind of make sense? So this is what happened as a result. The most famous instance of impersonation in this chaotic period was when a journalist, who was a writer and reporter, named Sean Morrow, impersonated the pharmaceutical company Eli Lilly Co. Before I go into the details, when I say pharmaceutical company, they're not like a pharmacist, they're not like a chemist, they're not Chemist Warehouse. They're a drug company that manufactures a whole range of different types of medicine, right? It's also important to note that the American system is different to the Australian system as far as like buying medicine, buying drugs. When I say drugs, I mean you know what I mean, legal drugs. The system in America is how do I sound this without coming off like I'm supporting communism? It's because it's a more capitalist system, drug companies can charge whatever they like. In Australia, we have laws that limit that so that people can get medicine that they need at an affordable price. In America, it's companies like any other company can charge whatever they want for their product, and then people can either afford it or they can't, right? Sorry.
So with this though, would Eli Lilly and Co, would they have already had a Twitter account? Because if he was able to change his name,
yes.
So there can be be replicas of the same.
Yeah. So let's go down and hopefully this will be clear. So Sean Morrow, he paid the $8 for Twitter Blue, or X Premium, on an old account. So he had two accounts, right? So he did it on an old account and obtained a verification check under his own name, right? He then changed his handle to @Eli Lilly and Co. He also changed the profile pic, the banner pic, the name. So the name is this bit up here. The handle is the whatever, right? So he changed the name and the bio from Eli Lilly's official account, right? So Eli Lilly had their own account called LilyPad, @LilyPad. He just copied all of their information that was on that and put it in his own one. So effectively, it looked exactly the same. The only difference was the handle, but it also had that verification check. So it looked pretty official, right? And in fact, you know, if someone said to me, there's a brand called Eli Lilly and Co, and there's two Twitter handles. One is @Eli Lilly and Co, and the other one is @LilyPad. The Eli Lilly and Co one has a verification check, but LilyPad doesn't. Which is the real one? And I would have assumed that it's the one that has the more official sounding name and the verification check, right? And so did millions of people who saw this tweet. So once he made all of those changes, he tweeted, we are excited to announce insulin is now free, or insulin is free now. So, this is where I'll give you just a little bit of extra background. Oh, maybe I've got it on the next slide. I might jump across and fill in the blanks if not. But Eli Lilly and Co makes insulin. Do we all know what insulin does? Yes, it is life-saving medication for diabetics. It means that they can live, right? Everybody's bodies produces insulin, glucose, right? And but diabetics have trouble doing that. So insulin now does that for them. Okay, so this is the background information. I'm glad I went to the next tab. So this is stuff that I want you to know, not necessarily useful in an answer, but just useful in terms of our knowledge. So insulin, it's manufactured and sold to help diabetics manage their condition and keep them alive. Eli Lilly and Co make and sell insulin. They're one of 3 companies in the US that do it. Okay. It costs about $10 for them to produce, and Eli Lilly sell it in the US for about $99.
For one, like...
I don't know. I don't know, to be honest, whether it's one thing or whether it's a week supply, a month supply. I'm not too sure, actually. So that's a huge profit, massive profit. in other countries like Australia, insulin, this same medicine, is subsidised and costs less than $10 for patients to buy. Yes. Yeah. Right. This is what I'm saying. The American system is very different. Right. What are often referred to as big pharma companies in the US are among the most profitable companies in the world. And it's for that kind of reason, because if you had to choose between buying yourself insulin to keep you alive or buying the latest pair of sneakers or a pair of AirPods or whatever, you'll probably be making the decision to keep yourself alive. And these big pharma companies know that, and so they know that they can just keep their prices going up and up and up, and people will still pay for it, even if it means that they lose in other areas. It's not a particularly good system. So that's kind of the background. That gives you a little bit of insight into why did Sean Morrow tweet this, and it was to kind of highlight these things, right? Okay. So back to the actual information about the case itself. So in the aftermath of that tweet, Eli Lilly executives, so the bosses at Eli Lilly, scrambled, attempting to contact Twitter to get the fake account and tweet taken down. However, after Musk bought Twitter, he cut staff by 50%, so he sacked half of the staff. And it meant that the social media platform took hours to respond, so that tweet stayed up while no one at Twitter was answering the phone, essentially. As a result, the real Eli Lilly's company share price plummeted with a loss of $15 billion as a result of that tweet, right? So investors have gone, well, we're investing in this big pharmaceutical company that we know is one of the most profitable companies in the world. We know that we make $90 off every insulin that's sold, and all of a sudden, Eli Lilly are going to give that away for free. Whose money are they going to use to give that away, to pay the costs of giving that away for free? Mine, my investment money. Well, I better take that investment money away, hey? So that's kind of what happened. So it had, and you can see, this is when the tweet went out. We're excited to announce insulin is free now. This is when the official Eli Lilly, so at LilyPad, tweeted out an apology that it's fake, but it wasn't enough, and so even after that, this is when the share price plummeted, right? Yeah, this is still in that week. They have bounced back. I don't know if they're the exact same levels. I imagine that would be pretty close. So it had an impact financially on Eli Lilly, but then kind of a knock-on effect is it also had an impact on X, because the next morning, Eli Lilly, the real one, put a halt to its multi-million-dollar Twitter ad campaigns. So they're like, well, if Twitter aren't going to look after us as a brand, we're not going to advertise with them anymore. Other advertisers also pulled out. Yeah. But there are still lots of advertisers who around this period of time stopped advertising with X and still have not gone back. I haven't checked the latest X usage, but it is not as popular as it was before Musk bought it. Yeah. All right. So, if we're now looking at what's the impact and the result of all of this, obviously we saw that loss of 15 billion, but in order to stop more advertisers leaving, because there was kind of this mass exodus of advertising on X, so X declared a new policy permanently banning any impersonation account. So you can still anyone can purchase the verification tick, but if you're found to be someone impersonating, you'd be banned for life. Sean Morrow's fake Eli Lilly account was suspended as a result. That's all the repercussion that Twitter can offer. He was while he was breaking X community guidelines, he was not breaking law, and because he's not breaking law, then not punished. So Sean Morrow's fake Eli Lilly account was suspended. The real Eli Lilly and Co. considered legal action against X. They didn't follow through with it.
$15 million.
Yeah, because it did go back up, right? In June 2023, Musk announced that advertising revenue was down 50% since he took over. So that's a huge loss in advertising money. And in March 2023, so even though their share price bounced back, they still had a bad public image, and it did draw attention to the inequity, the greed in charging people that much money for insulin. But in March 2023, Eli Lilly lowered the price of insulin to $35. And that was, so there are conflicting reports. I said 99 before, which you're welcome to keep that, or down from 140. So, and they've said that they've capped that price. So this has had a positive change for any diabetic living in America, that their cost of insulin is now decreased because of this whole episode. Sorry? Well, I think that we should just... social media can be used for good in highlighting these inequities, and when something goes viral, companies have to respond. I mean, we saw that with the cheating couple at the Coldplay concert, right? If it's awkward. I mean, I'm on the side of cheaters get what they deserve, but if it was just internally found out in the company that these two are having an affair, they would probably not do anything about it, right?
If they didn't react, nothing would have happened.
Yeah. Well, there's that too. Yeah. So that's the lesson. You just fake it. Just don't have any shame is the answer. In fact, actually, that's it.
Actually, no. How about just don't cheat in general?
Yes, well, there's that.
Maybe don't go to a
Go to Coldplay by yourself. Or
Go with your wife,
maybe.
Yeah, go with your wife, bro. Go with your wife or children.
It is very funny reading all the things about that. So like the woman who was on the side laughing, there's now a spotlight on her because they're like, oh, she's young and has been promoted into a management position. It's because she knew and they were trying to hush her.
Because the photos are like, she looks unbelievable.
Well, the one on the side.
Yes, to them.
Yeah, I think that
Like, there was a photo
they were close
from
enough.
work and she looked
Yeah. People's work profiles or LinkedIn profiles are
The
weird.
guy resigned, didn't he?
Yeah.
Resigned in quote marks, Yeah. Yes. So how we get onto that? We're talking about like social media can be used for, for good, but also only when there's enough exposure on it, right? Only when the algorithm feeds it to enough places, and then with the Coldplay story and with this story, traditional news outlets pick it up and rather than publish it and report on it properly. These were a couple of Musk's tweets at the time. And this was at the time he has kind of stepped back from making rules on X, but that was at the time where he would have these knee-jerk reactions and put in these new policies without much consultation or warning. So. But still to this day, impersonation accounts are banned. So, how can we apply that? So here is a sample question that we can use this case study to answer. So sample question, 4 marks, possibly even a 5-mark type of question. How have media institutions been affected by the agency that contemporary media users now exercise? So it's coming all the way back to using the language that we started with. So how have institutions been affected by agency that contemporary media users now exercise? I know it's tricky when you're typing this, but try to do a square, circle, underline on this, and we'll first of all make sure that we can answer the question, and then we'll give it a crack.
With this though, what would be squared because there's no like direction?
How?
Okay.
Yep.
Do you understand though what I was?
Yeah, I do understand. And this is where usually how is kind of an explain question. It would be very similar. It would be the exact same question if it was just explain how. Explain how media institutions have been affected, right? And maybe once you've square circled, underlined, maybe have a crack at that all-important first sentence. Okay? ATQ, tell them something new. So this, however, when you look at something like this, sometimes we've got in now for these types of questions for this unit, it's different to when we see codes, right? So when we see a question like this and we combine that with, okay, it's 4 marks, do they really want me to give 2 detailed case studies on this, right? Because it's a generally worded question, the get out of jail card, and this is it. Unfortunately, this is where we've just got to apply a little bit of, and it's not even common sense, right? Just a little bit of gut instinct on this, because I'm like, if this exact same question was worded like this, but 8 marks, Okay, I've got to do 2, right? But how have media institutions been affected by agency that contemporary media users now exercise? 4 marks. All right, maybe I can answer this with the general, like social media institutions like X, or even like X, Instagram, Facebook, are influenced or are affected by users impersonating others on their platforms. So that answers the general, but then I go, for instance, in 2022, Sean Morrow, does that kind of make sense? So you can give like, here's the general, they're all affected like this, here's my one specific example. Does that kind of make sense? Yeah? It is a good point though. So what do people square, circle, underline? Talk to me. How? Yep, how, square. Yep, what else?
Media institution.
Yep.
Underline.
Yep.
And I did just a circle around the X.
Yep, cool. Yep.
And I said I underlined agency.
Yep.
Affected.
Yep.
And then
Media users.
Yep. So users is kind of the important one, right? Because it's not just that how have media institutions been affected. We now have to look at specifically individual users, right? Cool, great. Anything else? Anything else that people circled? Yeah. Okay. So here's what I did. Because I knew that this was kind of a generalized one, I didn't do the circle around the S. I'm glad that you have, though. Keep that up. That's good. But I did draw circles around that, just this idea of contemporary and now. And when we say now, we don't mean July the 24th, 2025. We mean in the last couple of years, okay? Contemporary audiences, modern audiences. It means that we can't use a really old example. We've got to pull something fairly recent, right? So I'm just circling that to just keep that in my mind. Has anybody typed a first sentence response to this? I'll give you a minute to do that.
Can you say though to have like a generalized answer about how it impacts?
Yeah, either way, it's kind of... See how you go. The same rule applies of ATQ, tell me something new, right? And there's plenty of new things to say on this, right? We just don't want the media institutions are affected by an increase in the agency of media users, right? You got to lead us somewhere a little bit more specific. Anyone good to share their first sentence? That's a long first sentence that people are typing out. Oh, you're trying to spell pharmaceutical? Yeah. No, that's a tricky one. Yeah, I bet you did. I reckon I'd have to look it up.
I don't know how
eh,
to write it better. I know it can be worded better. but
Sure.
can I just-
Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Cool. Go for it.
Current media users can impersonate media institutions on social media platforms.
Mm-hmm.
But like, there's a better way of writing that. But that's
I think so. So I think the thing that probably needs to be in that is the, like, what's the effect? What's the impact? Right? Yeah.
I don't know much more general.
Yeah. Go for it.
Well, my first sentence is media institutions have been affected by an agency to change their platforms, policies, and regulations to align their contemporary values and expectations. And following that is Twitter now X was forced to change policies.
Yep.
for-
Yep, cool. I think you know that the bit of that first sentence where you trailed off, where you went right. So you, I think we're forced to change policies, right, because of user. You had impersonation in there, right, or you just had the way that users are on their platform. So that's yeah. So that's good, right? So you've got this is the change, right? Don't go changing your responses, but. What have you got, Millie?
Okay, well, I'm not finished, but I
Okay.
said, mine's like different than yours.
Fine.
I said the media institution such as X, formerly known as
Yep.
Twitter,
Yep.
has negatively affected the multinational pharmaceutical company
Oh yeah.
Eli Lilly and Co, forcing X to change policies after.
Yep. Cool. All right. So,
Yeah.
just remember with our like ATQ, tell me something new, then tell me something specific,
Okay,
right?
so
So you can
this is
save your
Eli
Eli Lilly for the second sentence,
Okay.
right? Yeah. Cool. All right.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Hello?
Yeah. Go, Izzy.
Due to the agency of contemporary media uses the social platform X, policies have been positively changed due to the impersonation case of Sean Morrow versus Eli Lilly on the platform.
Nice. Good one. Yep.
what did you write?
This is what I wrote. All right, so remember what I was saying to Jack before, you can start with the general, like modern media institutions like X, right? So I'm setting up the specific, but I'm addressing the general, can be negatively impacted by the agency of individual users on the platform. To be honest, now that I've read that out loud, a lot of our other ones were better. A lot of your ones were better in terms of you gave me the something new. The only something new I have given is X. I'm not happy with that at all anymore, right? I'm going to change it. Not happy. So it can be negative. I do say there's negatively impacted. That's a type of impact.
Yeah.
By agency of individual users. I'm just going to say who impersonate others on the platform. Good. Right, so that's enough of my tell me something new, okay? And what this has now done is it's made this second sentence probably not necessarily essential. And so I'm going to back off from this too. And I'm just gonna italicize that bit because that bit might not be essential, especially for only 4 marks. Okay. So in one example, a single X user worked within the platform's rules to impersonate a brand, which resulted in embarrassment and financial loss for Elon Musk's X. In November, I could really cut that out. I could have in one example in November 2022. I could go with that, right? And that follows my rule of second sentence, tell me something specific. In November 2022, Twitter user Sean Morrow purchased a verification stamp for $8 and changed his handle and profile to @Eli Lilly Co to match the pharmaceutical brand. He then tweeted, "We are happy to announce insulin is
Can we finish that sentence?
free now."
Yeah. What if we like don't say the quote, but we say announce that insulin is free, like your insulin?
Yeah, that's okay. Detail gets you marks, right? Detail will mean that the examiner goes, oh yeah, she not only knows the case, but she knows the details of the case. But you could even cut this down, right? And tweeted that insulin is free now, even if you just quoted that bit. I think that would be good. You're saying the same thing anyway, you might as well wrap a quote around it. Which resulted in the real Eli Lilly Co. losing $15 billion in share price. This subsequently led to Eli Lilly Co. threatening to sue X, and the social media network later reported revenue loss of 50% after advertisers were scared to associate with Musk's platform. This demonstrates that with increased agency in the social media landscape, audiences can now produce their own content that can have a real-world impact on multi-billion-dollar brands like Eli Lilly and X. And I'll stop recording, but I'll keep this up. Bye, Rachel!